£20 coin.
Never seen them in my life.
So it's from the Royal Mint, so the same place that all legal tender comes from.
Have you got any other means of payment at the minute?
I don't know. Right. Can I ask why you didn't tell me before you started recording?
So when we go to any incident, our tour of duty and our police protocol is to video every incident we go to achieve the best evidence.
But you've got to notify the person at the first available opportunity.
No, we don't.
You do.
Have you got that from somewhere? Have you read that up somewhere? Or?
Yes, your policy. Yeah.
Well, at the minute, we're obviously videoing everything because we've been called to an incident. Immediate response where there's some ongoing issue with payment, whether it's a domestic...
999?
Well, that's what's coming as, yeah.
Well...
We just didn't know what was happening. There was an altercation in the shop, so we've arrived on that instance. Are you going to give me your name?
I'm not, no.
Right, okay. Because is there a reason for that?
Because it's a civil matter, and it's not something that the police can get involved in.
To a degree, you're right. It is a civil matter. We can deal with it a different way, but obviously, ultimately, you haven't paid for your fuel.
From the moment she arrives, the officer shows that she is not prepared to handle the situation properly. The auditor notices her body camera right away and asks why she did not tell him she was recording. The guidance is clear. Officers should inform members of the public that they are being recorded as early as possible. Instead of acknowledging this, she wrongly claims that no such requirement exists. She then asks the auditor for his name, even though this is not a criminal investigation. It is simply a civil dispute between the auditor and the petrol station. Since no crime has been committed, there is no legal reason to demand identification. The officer either misunderstood the law or chose to ignore it. Either way, it reflects poorly on someone trusted to enforce the law.
But they're not accepting that money.
But that's up to them to accept it. If they decline...
They've obviously run the post office and they've declined that. Ultimately, it's a civil issue, but if you're not willing to give us your details, then how do we know that you're going to resolve the civil issue at a later date? If you're happy to give us your details, then we can look at the civil issue at a later date.
But that's a civil issue, that's nothing for the police to get involved in.
But we don't know your details, do we? So you could technically escape from here and never come back and never deal with that issue, then you'd be circulated as wanted for that, won't you, for making off without payment?
That's not a police issue at the minute.
It is.
It's
it is a police issue because you've not paid for fuel. So there's still an offence there of that you've not paid for your fuel.
But I have paid. I've gave them...
But you've gave them this coin, yeah, which ultimately they've spoke to the post office and they've decided that it's not a reasonable amount of payment for your fuel. So at the minute we're sort of hands are tied, yeah, agree with you on a certain instance of that, but we still need a solution today whether we take your details and we deal with it at a later date.
The officer clearly admits that this is a civil dispute, but then claims she has the power to demand the auditor's ID so the issue can be dealt with later. That is not how police powers work. If there is no suspected criminal offense, there is no legal authority to force someone to provide their personal details. She cannot turn a private payment disagreement into a police ID check simply because the petrol station wants her to. When she says the auditor could be marked as wanted, it sounds more like a threat than a legal warning. Wanted notices are used for criminal cases, such as suspects, people with arrest warrants, or those who fail to appear in court, not for civil payment disputes. Using the possibility of criminal action to pressure someone into giving their details is an improper use of police authority. If the officer truly believed a crime had been committed, she needed to consider whether the legal requirements were actually met, including dishonesty and an intention to avoid payment. Instead, the auditor remained at the scene, tried to pay, and only disagreed about the payment method. That points to a civil dispute, not a criminal one.
Basically, he's trying to pay with this. They've run the post office and said that it doesn't really exist, you can't pay with that. He obviously won't give us our details. I've explained to him to a degree it's a civil matter. However, if he does make off and he doesn't give us our details, we're struggling for any sort of civil issue at a later date. Any details and making off without payment, yeah. So I've explained if he does give us his details and we know where he is and we can contact him at a later date, hopefully this issue can get resolved. Now, he's obviously not really wanting to do that at the minute.
Because it's a civil issue and it's nothing for the police to get involved in.
But you're still going to make off, aren't you? Technically without payment, but if we can get your details...
But I have paid.
But you haven't...
And it is their policy to accept the £20 coin.
Has he paid?
No, he hasn't.
Right, if you haven't paid, and if you walk out the door now...
They've still got the money though.
Just let me finish. If you walk out that door now, you are liable for an arrest because we don't have your details.
But you don't need them.
But I do.
Because it's a civil issue.
But it's not, because a make off without payment is then a police matter.
The second officer arrives and immediately makes the situation worse by threatening the auditor with arrest. That makes little sense. The auditor was still inside the petrol station, had made no attempt to leave, and was openly discussing the payment. There was no sign of making off without payment and no evidence that he intended to avoid paying. The threat becomes even weaker because the auditor had already tried to pay with a £20 Royal Mint coin, but the cashier refused to accept it. That alone shows he was willing to pay, not avoid payment. Under the law, both leaving without paying and intending to avoid payment must be present for the offense to apply. Neither of those conditions existed here. By trying to turn a civil payment dispute into a criminal matter simply because she could not get his details, the officer showed a serious misunderstanding of the situation.
So if you walk out that door now, it is. If you walk out that door now, you'll be getting arrested for make off without payment.
But there is an agreement with BP that the coin can be used.
Is there any other way that you can pay? Because we're going to sit here for hours arguing. I've been quite respectful to you. I appreciate you have to a degree, and I appreciate that from yourself. You haven't been argumentative with me, and I appreciate that you've been a normal human being. However, we need
I don't intend to. No,
I know you appreciate that.
If you can pay for the fuel now by other means, then that's fair enough. It'll be the end of the matter.
Or if you can give us your details, we can deal with it at a slower time. We can offer you that. But if you're not willing to do either any, then we're struggling with what we have left to do.
Because we can't let you walk out that door without paying. But
we don't know where you live. You might not even be from around here. I'm not saying you are, but you know what I mean. We have people where they'll make off and then they won't give us our details, and then we're going to struggle. I'm still going to have that £20 of fuel, unfortunately, with this BP garage outstanding.
Which car is it?
But I have paid for the fuel.
But you haven't paid for the fuel. Which one?
Right, we're going round in circles, aren't we?
We are, unfortunately, yeah. We've agreed, we've reasoned with you now, we've tried to say that if you give us your details, just tell you where you live, we'll deal with it slow time. However, you then leave, you don't have your details, you don't know where you live, you could live in London for all we know, and then there's still this making off without payment because they will not accept this as payment.
But I don't have to identify for a civil issue.
It technically isn't a civil issue though, is it, when you leave and you don't pay? You haven't paid for your fuel. We've got the payment here, which isn't acceptable, so really you haven't paid at the minute.
The entire encounter is based on a false assumption. The officers keep warning the auditor not to leave, as if he is about to drive away without paying. But that never happens. He remains inside the petrol station, continues speaking with staff, and has already tried to pay with a Royal Mint coin. The officers are not responding to what he actually did. They are reacting to something they imagine might happen. Their argument about needing to force him to provide ID is just as weak. His vehicle was parked outside, and the registration plate could have been used to confirm his identity if they genuinely believed it was necessary. Instead of using that option, they continued demanding his details without clear legal authority. By turning a civil payment dispute into grounds for arrest, they made the situation worse instead of resolving it.
I have, because I've handed the coin over. Right. So I haven't got that in my possession, and I've contacted BP head office before coming here.
Right, so was that today then, or?
No.
So when was that then? So you've contacted BP head office before you've come in?
Correct.
Right, so did you contact them today, or was it yesterday, or last week, or?
It's not up to me to say that.
How's it money?
Do you understand what the £20 coin is?
No, that's why I'm confused.
Well, why are you threatening me for arrest then, if you don't know?
Because it's not money.
It is.
Right. We'll agree to disagree. At the end
you don't know that. It is. It's legal tender, the same as a £20 note and a £10 note.
Right, and who did you speak to from the BP garage, the manager?
It's a Royal Mint who issued that £20 coin.
Right. Okay.
So it's the same money as any other money.
If you get someone on the phone to me who you've spoken to earlier, then we could kind of end the matter here, can't we?
Well, if it's a civil issue, I don't need to assist you.
But at the minute we don't know it's a civil matter.
But I don't need to assist you in a civil issue.
But you do, because it then turns into a police matter because we don't know that coin.
The auditor had already done enough by explaining that BP had confirmed the £20 Royal Mint coin was valid. That should have settled the issue. Instead, the officer insisted that he contact BP himself, suggesting that if he refused, the matter could become a police issue. That has no legal basis. The auditor had no legal duty to make that call, and refusing to do so does not turn a civil disagreement into a criminal offense. It is the police officer's job to assess the facts and apply the law, not to place the burden on a citizen to prove their case. Her next comment only weakens her position further when she says, "We don't know that coin." A £20 Royal Mint coin is legal tender. If the officers are unfamiliar with it, that does not make the auditor responsible. A lack of knowledge about the coin does not change the law.
It's a civil agreement.
You're being arrested because you haven't given us the details, and you're going to walk out that door, and it's technically a failure to pay.
But then it'll be a civil. But then I'll sue you.
Well, that's fine. If you want to sue us, that's fine.
Unlawful arrest.
Like I said, we've been honest with you in terms of which way we can go. The staff here have been very honest. Okay, and all I'm saying is, if you get the person on the phone who you spoke to earlier with the agreement, then that could be the end of the matter. But
you
as
know-
far as I do, then technically, if you walk out the door, it's going to be make without payment.
He's already accepted to take it.
You haven't accepted to take it. No, haven't accepted to take it. You walk out that door, becomes a criminal matter, and you get arrested for make off without payment.
You give us your details.
You're refusing to give us your details, and we don't know that that vehicle is yours because you're not.
But I've told you
Is it urgent?
that he said he would take the coin
But he isn't out.
if I take my mask off.
Right, well I wasn't here for that, so we have no witnesses, unfortunately, other than you and him. Right now I can't view that.
Body camera.
But right now I can't view that. At the end of the day, you've come in, you've paid for you've got your fuel, you've come in. This isn't a payable matter. Once you leave, we've offered you to give us your details and deal with that way. For all I know, that vehicle could register somebody else and lived in London. And how are we ever going to trace you?
But I don't need to assist you.
Once you leave the situation, it is making off without payment. I can't be any more reasonable with you and give you some sort of options that we can go.
But I don't need to assist you.
Are you offering to give
Because
the
you're
staff,
wrong.
not myself, not my colleague, the staff your name and contact number?
No.
Right, so we have one option, but two will lock you up then.
Well, I've got a civil agreement in the background.
You can
So-
prove that at court.
I've
You
got
can prove that at court.
That's
then.
fine. You can prove that
Yeah.
at court.
Right, well, this moment in time, you're currently under arrest for making off without payment. You don't
I
have to
haven't-
say anything,
but I haven't made off.
offence. We don't mention one question from the letter line. Oh, anything you do is a negative evidence.
But I haven't made off
That's
though.
for your arrest as prompted in fact of investigation. Okay?
But I haven't made off.
That you're under caution as well.
And due to the fact you failed to provide details.
But I haven't made off.
Fails to provide details, yeah.
But I haven't made off.
Right, are we going to go calmly? Are we going to go quietly?
We would go calmly all the time.
Okay, well, do you want to walk with us then?
Of course.
Thank you. Just come with me, sir, please. Have you got anything in your pockets that's going to harm me or you?
Just take
them out. It's just a question we ask everybody.
Can we just take your camera off as well, please?
This is the point where the situation goes from poor judgment to a serious misuse of police powers. The officers arrest the auditor for making off without payment while he is still standing inside the petrol station, clearly telling them, "I haven't made off." That statement alone should have caused them to reconsider. The offense of making off without payment requires someone to leave without paying. The auditor had not left, was not trying to leave, and made that clear throughout the encounter. Even so, the officers continued with the arrest. Legally, the decision is difficult to justify. The law requires two key elements: leaving without paying and intending to avoid payment. Neither of those elements was present. The auditor had already offered a valid form of payment and remained at the scene while the disagreement continued. At that moment, the offense the officers relied on had not been made out. The video then moves on to an update from Auditor IP about his legal claim.
About 10 months ago, I walked out of those gates after being falsely arrested for using the £20 coin. The Chief Constable has paid out £4,000 in compensation, but unfortunately he did not apologise at any point, even taking him to court. He went all the way to court, we had the hearing date, and then the Chief Constable saw some sense and paid £4,000 in compensation, but no apology.
The case eventually reached court, where the auditor received a payout of £3,999, along with legal costs. That is a significant amount of money for an incident that should never have happened. It shows how difficult it was to justify the officer's actions once the case came under legal scrutiny. Rather than continue defending the case, it was settled. According to the auditor, however, the chief constable never offered an apology. Thousands of pounds of taxpayer money were paid out, yet there was no public acknowledgement that mistakes had been made. For many people, that raises questions about accountability and whether protecting the force's reputation was given greater priority than accepting responsibility. This case shows how a simple civil disagreement over a coin escalated into a wrongful arrest. Instead of resolving the situation calmly and applying the law correctly, the officers treated it as a criminal matter. What should have been a straightforward discussion became an unnecessary confrontation because poor judgment replaced common sense. Throughout the encounter, the officers repeatedly focused on the possibility that the auditor might leave without paying, even though he never suggested he would. He remained at the scene, tried to pay, and continued discussing the issue. Their actions were based on something that had not happened rather than the facts in front of them. The encounter also raises concerns about policing methods. Instead of relying on clear evidence and legal powers, the officers quickly turned to threats, detention, and eventually arrest. When authority is used without a proper legal basis, it can damage public confidence and make people question whether the law is being applied fairly. If a situation like this can escalate over a disagreement about a coin, it highlights the importance of officers understanding the law they are responsible for enforcing. Cases like this remind us that good policing depends on knowledge, fairness, and accountability. Thank you for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment, and subscribe for more independent coverage. Also, be sure to check out I Spy Audits. His channel is linked in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.